this month. Let's see. Okay, so first up, my SLC term is ending, but that also means that applications are now open for new SLC members. I'll be able to reapply, but I'd also like to see you guys try to apply for the Student Leadership Council too, if that is something you're interested in. If you do find that you're interested in trying that, you can search on Facebook for SAD Nation, and there you'll find out the application and everything that you need with it. If you do have any questions for me about an application for that, please feel free to ask me. Jillian has my number and all my information if you need it. Okay, next up is SAD is having a virtual prom. This will be all of SAD Nation, and it's going to be like a really big thing. And the theme is, let me open it, Lights, Camera, Prom. So what this means is at this prom, if you go, is you can either choose a red carpet attire, a cosplay, or a DIY look. So this is like an endless kind of thing that you can do. So like cosplay is more like just dressing as a character from a movie. And for that, if you are interested in going, there's only a $10 fee as part of the planning committee, and they do have a fun night of games and prizes. If you go, the best DIY will get points, and at the best DIY, the best cosplay, the best red carpet attire, they'll all rack points. And whoever has the most points at the end of the night will win prizes. There's other ways to earn points, like if you do, if you post yourself like wearing your costume or saying you're going to SAD prom, that will give you points too as well. I'll try to get more information on that for the next meeting. That will be on May 8th. And how many of you are part of Teach? And would be able to, okay. Then you guys probably already heard that Teach is also doing a prom on May 7th, and that will be a masquerade ball theme. Let's see. There's a lot of updates from SAD, so just a minute. Let me look at another one. And if anyone is interested in applying for the Student Leadership Council, just tell me and I can help you enter that. Okay, another one is, let's see. Okay, so the next meme and video contest is open on SAD. And again, these can like give you great prizes. I actually, I don't, have any of you heard back from the last one we did for the video contest? Like, did you guys enter a video? Okay, well, I was able to enter some videos and actually did win. So that's cool for me. But these, in case you weren't here when I was kind of explaining the last one, let's see, the last one was $250 if you placed. This one, let's see, I haven't actually looked at it yet. Okay, I can't find the prize right now, like a prize. Okay, but anyway, I do need 30 memes and a video for the Student Leadership Council. It's one of my last duties, is to get 30 memes and a video. I'll put the link in the chat. All right, I think that's all of my updates. I'll probably remember some more in a minute, but that is if you want to do the video contest. Is anyone know that they're interested in doing the SLC or going to fill out an application? If so, I can put a link for that one too.
And will you just talk a little bit more about that, about what that is and what you've done?
Of course. So the Student Leadership Council is like kind of the voice of SAD. It's our jobs that whatever issues you guys are seeing in your communities, we bring that to light so that we can hopefully help other teens our age and kind of connect on that basis. So like I was supposed to fly to New York and go like to Florida and stuff. That didn't happen, but they're hoping to have that happen next year. So if you did fill out the application now, you'd probably be flying and traveling a lot. I also did skits and kind of talked, like we did something called Sad Listens. So that whole night I would like, or not whole night, but I spent an hour listening to people from across the country kind of talk about issues that they're seeing in their communities. And it's a really cool opportunity. So if anyone is interested even slightly, I can send you the link and you can look further into it. Or again, if you have any more questions for me, I can definitely tell you about that. The age for it, I think is, well, actually, it's a funny story. So I got into Sad Speaks and they did not realize I was too young to be a part of the SLC. So it was funny when they did realize it. But anyway, so I think it's 10th through 12th is what it's supposed to be. But I can talk to them and see if someone in ninth grade is interested and see if they can let someone else come in. So is anyone interested in that? Oh, and I think most of the people here right now are heading to TTI, right? It's an amazing opportunity, and I'm so glad to hear that you guys are coming. And I can't wait for that. So I've kind of talked to you guys about this before. So like it's a week full of learning about, you know, substance abuse, trauma, and just like all this stuff that's happening to a lot of teens in America. But it's wonderful. And you also get to meet with other teens like yourself in a place, and we do like, or they did parties and stuff as well. I don't know how much of that we'll get to do this year since we might have to social distance a bit, but I'm really excited to go again. Does anyone have any questions or updates on events?
So I had one reminder. Next week for Earth Day, we're going to do a cigarette cleanup if y'all want to come and help with that. So Kenna is going to lead a just discussion of the Greta Thunberg book, No One is Too Small to Make a Difference. So even if you haven't read the book, come talk about it at 2 o'clock next Thursday. And then after that, we will head out downtown doing a litter pickup for Earth Day. So I would love to have y'all all there and be together in person for the first time in a while. So I'm also going to be sending out, we're going to be doing First Fridays in downtown Elizabethton, like a teen area in the breezeway with different arts and activities and different kinds of things. So I'll send all these dates out to you all, but would love to see y'all next week for Earth Day. And if you don't have anything else, we'll turn it over to Melanie.
Hello. I made it this time. Thanks to you, Jillian, for getting it on my calendar. And speaking of TTI, I think I'm going to try to go also. Jillian, did you get my email about that?
I did.
Okay.
I think Patty wants a van. Like we're going to just rent her a van because we've got 7 kids going.
Okay.
And so I think she's going to just drive them down. They were not thrilled about the idea of a bus. So
I understand. Well, Christy I didn't realize that they were getting a bus. And so she said, well, what about any other coalitions? Because it's a big bus and it won't be filled in. I said, I will. So the offer is there.
We have a van secured. So
gotcha. Understand completely.
Yeah.
Totally get you. But I wanted to offer. But yeah, I think I'm going to try to go this year, and that'll be fun. I'm looking forward to it. When Johnny May's group, and she has also participated with our youth coalition in Sullivan County, and so I'm really hoping to get more of her students involved with what you guys are doing, so we can make this a collaboration. So maybe during TTI we can all kind of meet and coalesce and get some really cool stuff going on, because they're always doing things like you guys do, but in Kingsport. And so I really think that we get them involved, the reach would be awesome, and y'all could collaborate on some really cool stuff. So that's exciting stuff. good to be able to talk about doing stuff in person. Yay. All right, so we'll go ahead and get started on the second part of the YouTubers, how to make YouTube videos, or really just videos in general. This is kind of a really good way to just think about if you're making some kind of media like this, whether it's just a short video clip or whether it's a more long a longer like blog type of thing, or even a podcast. Really, this could also work for podcasts. We're not necessarily just talking about videos, because it's the same sort of thing. But last time we talked about writing script, and trying to think about what your message is going to be and how to get that across, and writing a script with that message, so that you are making sure that you have putting in there everything that you want to say, and having a kind of way to put that across in a sorry, I just drove back from Knoxville, so I'm kind of get that brain going again. I need some more coffee this afternoon. To get that cohesive nature to your storytelling is what a script is for. But today we're going to talk about storyboarding. And so storyboarding is a very cool thing that you can use in all kinds of different places, whether it's for a vlog, a short video, or even a podcast, because basically what this does is help you to kind of draw out an outline. You guys write outlines for school, I'm sure. When you are starting to write an essay or a longer paper, you've used outline materials many times. And so that's exactly what a storyboard is. It's just a visual outline of what you want to say. And storyboarding can be kind of fun. Especially if you're doing a video, you can actually draw out little people. You can make it like a comic book and have little squares. And like in this sequence, this is what our actors are going to do. And you write little bubbles if you want to, and this is what they're going to say. And then you can go on, down. It doesn't have to be great art. I make storyboards that are just stick figures, but it gets the point across. Here's what we're going to do. And so that's kind of all storyboarding is. It can be absolutely more complicated than that, but it doesn't have to be. It can be very simple. And if I could get my technology to work so that I can actually read this off to you, we'll be doing really good. So anyway, so when we're thinking about making a video and creating some kind of audio visual element, having a good plan is really important, so that you are able to tell your story in a very sequential way that gets your point across. So let's see, I'm going to show a little YouTube clip. This guy talks about storyboarding. It's a little bit longer, but he goes into a whole lot more detail about it, which also talks about when you're storyboarding, some of the more of those details, like lighting. Do you have good lighting so that you can clearly see what you're filming, where that lighting needs to come from? Thinking about do you need to put in subtitles or some, text underneath what people are saying, so that if in case they're not able to have audio, you can kind of read it. Or even, are you going to have music in certain spots? Do you need sound effects in certain spots? All that kind of detail goes into storyboarding also. So let me share this screen with you. And oh my goodness. My cat is helping me, and I don't have my mouse.
Believe this at all. And two, there's a right and a wrong way to storyboard.
Can y'all hear
you
that?
Storyboard however you need
Okay.
to. In this video, I'm going to show you two different ways of storyboarding, but in both examples, they would absolutely get an A grade. So for those of you who are here for the quick answer and want to know what the golden rule is for a great storyboard, it's simple. A good storyboard is one that you can watch, one that you can absolutely experience, beyond just what the camera angle is and what happens. What can you hear? What's the lighting like? It needs to have all of the details that you would need in a full film. It's like Martin Scorsese said in this quote, "The storyboard for me is the way to visualize the entire movie in advance." Now have a think what he means by that. Before the expense of getting all of your crew and your equipment on set, which can be so expensive, it's a way of seeing every single shot with the music, with the lighting, and seeing what works and what doesn't work. Peter Jackson did this absolutely loads during The Lord of the Rings, and even went to the extent of hiring voice actors so that he could watch the entire film in storyboard before he even pressed the record button.
Across the waters of the Nimrod Dell, curse their foul feet!
So, bearing in mind, you're all going to have very different levels of artistic ability. What I'm going to do is I'm going to draw this twice. I'm going to draw it once for people who have slightly more of a visual way of working, and for people who genuinely believe they have no artistic ability, I'm going to do another version where we're going to be relying more on text. Now, these are two storyboards that I've made. There are tons of templates online, but I like these ones because it allows you to adapt it most of all to your style. So here we're going to be putting most of the information in the frame. Here we're going to be making loads and loads of notes down the side. Now we need to have something to storyboard, so what I want to do is do this back to front. Let's watch this clip from Jurassic Park and just have a think, beyond just the camera and what happens, what are the different elements that we're going to have to translate from moving image into a two-dimensional print format?
Jimmy, what is it? It's a velociraptor. It's inside.
So let's take a look at how we would do this visually. So in this one, I'm going to try and draw with as much artistic ability as I can, which isn't actually that much. I'm going to draw the whole scene, including the movement of the camera. Okay, so everything that we see when the frame starts and everything that we see when it finishes. So down here, there was the little girl, there was the little boy. We've got a couple of raptors here. Okay, so here I've tried to draw the entire scene. We need to include things like lighting in this. So when you consider how are we going to show the fact that there's like an awful lot of shadows on the wall and very, very low-key lighting, if you've got the artistic confidence, you can kind of literally just show where shadows will be. So they're casting quite heavy shadows themselves. The background is very, very shadowy. We almost got irising kind of going around. I'm not even worrying too much about where the frames are, but I'm showing that. Again, I want to make sure that's absolutely clear as to what the lighting's like, so don't be afraid to write on the frame itself. So we've got low-key lighting that focuses on the characters. If there's anything on here that it's not entirely sure what it is, like this kind of counter, it's not entirely obvious. I've done it very, very sketchy just to show that you really don't need that artistic ability. Don't be afraid to label things. We've got girl, boy, raptors, counter. In other words, make it absolutely clear to the person looking at your storyboard, assuming it's not you, what it is they're looking at. It might make perfect sense to you, but it's got to make sense in the context of this video to the person marking your work. Okay, so the next...
This oceanside Verbo is about to become the backdrop for an unforgettable vacation memory. One of the rare moments when kids just...
Okay, so the next thing that we said we were going to talk...
Ads, love it. So you could see his drawing was as bad as my drawing, but you can get the point across, right? I mean, you could see the action happening. Everybody, I'm sure, has seen that film, so you can kind of see how he's laid out that shot and that, that action shot. So again, doesn't have to be fancy drawing. Let's keep going.
about was the way that the camera works. Now, I've drawn this from the perspective that I want the camera to be in, but don't forget there was that camera movement. It did that kind of dolly type crane thing that moved down as well. So what you can also do is literally draw on the frame, in this case, how the camera moves. So here, the first frame started around about here, and it ended with that kind of mid close-up of the boy and the girl. And what I'm going to do now is just show how that movement goes. So you can see, this one is all about the visuals. We've now got our starting frame and how it actually pans down to our finishing frame. Obviously, I've done this very sketchy, I've done it very scribbly. I'm not trying to be at all impressive, I don't think it is. But it shows you one way that you can do things visually, if you prefer to really picture things. So let's stop where we are now and start thinking about how we would do this even more simply if you do not enjoy drawing, or if you want to just stick to stickmen, because I insist that you can do this. Let's do these exact same camera movement now over here. So I'm going to start off with the first shot, but this time I'm going to have it separate. So we've got something that resembles a raptor. Honestly, I don't think anyone would call that a good drawing. It's not entirely clear as to what it is, so we should write down exactly what that means. We can say here, raptors appear at
I think it looks like a chicken
door. I think in this case it's fairly obvious as to what we're looking at. We could clarify that underneath if we wanted, but here we're actually making things far more descriptive. Kitchen is very low key lighting. Raptors scream as they enter. So much of what the pictures are doing for us here, if you can't draw any dinosaurs any better than this, then you've got to rely more on this actual text work. Now what I've done with this one is actually include the action, because again you might have an idea for your storyboard as to what's happening, but it might not be entirely obvious to the person viewing it. So again, in both of them I would actually say give a very, very brief description as to what happens in this scene. So here I'm also going to put down raptors enter. Boy and girl look scared. Okay, now going back to this shot, we have a continuation where it actually ends up on the second frame. Again, I just want to prove that you do not need to be the artist. We've got the girl and the boy looking scared. I'm going to label them. In fact, if you've got color, you could use these to make associations as well. So this character is always going to have an orange top or a yellow top, and this character is always going to have an orange top. And so that's a way of distinguishing between shots. Now here I still need to show the camera movement where I've shown it in one frame on this version. Here these actually belong to the same shot, but they could very easily look like a separate edit. So here I can put down shot 1A, and here is shot 1B, showing it's a continuation of this. Presuming I go to a different shot here, this would then become shot 2. So how do we tell the viewer how the camera moves from shot 1A to shot 1B? We can just write it down again. So we can say camera pans across to shot 1B. So what I've done here is the exact same thing, but again, I think where this is more visual, it involves perhaps slightly more artistic ability. I insist you can just draw something that resembles what you want, but as long as it has the correct composition, as long as it shows how the camera moves, you're still achieving the same effect.
Waiters always look at me and think that I'm gonna have a little salad, maybe a soup, and that'll be the whole meal. And when I do my actual order, this is priceless look on their face.
Okay, so what other information are we going to need to include to ensure that we can absolutely see this just as clearly?
So what do y'all think? Have you ever watched a movie that you've watched a lot? I know there's a couple of movies that I have watched probably a billion times. One that comes to the top of my brain is Legally Blonde. It's always on TV, and I always watch it when it's on TV. I don't know why. I just never get tired of it. But the next time you watch a movie that you've seen like a billion times, like really pay attention to the angles of the camera and how they move the shot from, you know, they pan from one place to the other, or maybe they're shooting from like really tall, looking down on the scene, or maybe they're shooting from the floor and they're looking up, and how those sort of things change change the way the movie feels, or the way that you kind of perceive what the action is happening. Can't really think of anything as an example right now, but that's something that can really be interesting. I took a film class at the University of Tennessee when I was in college as an elective, and it was so cool because I didn't know anything about these sort of camera angles and lighting at all. But as we watched these films, all these different classic films, Miracle on 34th Street, or gosh, I don't know. There was a lot of old films mostly that we watched, and we really discussed and talked about those sort of things. It was like, oh wow, those really, that sort of thing really does make a huge difference in the storytelling. And if it was shot at a different angle or shot in a different way with different lighting, different music in the background, it really wouldn't tell the story in the same way as it does, even with the same actors and the same dialogue. It would just really change the way it felt. So next time you watch something like that, yeah, Emma, you guys go ahead, speak up as much as you want.
Okay, I instantly just thought of like a good example would be Survivor. If you look up like it without music, it is the most boring, talkative show.
It is, isn't it? It's awful. It's like watching, I've seen those before too. It's like torture. Or if you've ever seen any of the, I know there's like little clips, and maybe it's YouTube videos, but they show movies and how they're actually made, and before you put on the sound effects, or maybe if it's got CGI or something in it, and it's like, that's terrible. So, all right, let's go on. Well, there we go. Maybe.
Clearly, as if we were watching the clip. Sound is a big factor. Now again, by the time you're storyboarding, you might have no idea what your finished soundtrack or sound effects are going to sound like, but you need to give the person an impression of what they can hear. So I'm just going to put in the background a little musical note to show that it's music, and I'm going to describe it the best I can. Very low, chilling cello music. You could also include sound effects in this. So I want to have the sound effect of the boy and the girl panting, breathing, and then of course you've got the sound effect of the raptors in the background. Here, where I'm not actually like showing an awful lot visually, I need to be even more descriptive. So I'm going to write down what happens in this shot. Boy and girl look panicked. Camera finishes on mid shot. Now that's an important point. You've seen me do it now with low-key lighting and with mid-shot. From the perspective of trying to get the best grade, use that key terminology: mid-shot, long-shot, close-up, high-key lighting, low-key lighting, diegetic sound, voiceover. The more of this kind of terminology you can show in your work, the higher your chances are of nailing a storyboard. So we've covered the fact that you need to include mise-en-scene, whether it's drawn or described. We've looked at how you need to show what the camera does in terms of its composition and its movement, be it in one frame or two separate frames. We also need to show how you would deal with editing, whether one clip does a straight cut like it does in 99% of cases, or whether you want to have a dip to white or a dip to black or a crossfade. How do you do this? Again, it's up to you, but the way I've always done it traditionally is to use the symbols that you get in old school Final Cut Pro. So for a straight cut, I'll always put this at the side, almost showing a clip ending and a clip starting. If I was to show a crossfade between two clips, I'd be tempted to draw a cross showing the transition between the two. So I know between shot 1B and shot 2, we have a crossfade. Or of course there's the other option. You can just write it. So on the side of shot 2, we can just write crossfade to shot 2. Just like I said at the start of this video, the important thing is that you show the information. It doesn't really matter how you do it as long as it's clear to you and the person who's marking your work. So what about other specific things that you might need to include, such as depth of field, focus? Well, let's just have a think about how we could show that. Let's look at this shot. Let's assume that we wanted to have a focus pull from the background to the foreground. How could we show that? Well, first off, we could describe it. So we could actually say focus pull from background to foreground. That would work absolutely fine. If you wanted to, you could show them as two separate shots. So in the first one, you could just draw a gray crosshatch over these guys. And in the second shot, change it so that the crosshatch was in the background, and actually labeled that with where the focus is. Focus in the background or focus in the foreground. Either way, you're making that absolutely clear. I've shown with shadows how we could show an absence of light, but what if you had specific lighting from a natural source or something like this? Well, you might want to show that actually on the frame. So here I'd want the guys to be lit from above. I can just draw what looks something like a lamp and show where the lighting's coming from. I could then write next to it spotlight from above. You could describe it, or like I did in the one before, just show light with shade. Now I'm hoping you're looking at these two examples and not thinking they are anything impressive. I've tried my hardest to show a lack of artistic ability. But the one thing that I would say that we have in each of these examples is a very, very clear picture of your intentions as a director. The whole point of the storyboard is to consider what you will or won't need on the actual day of shooting before you start spending money. So let's just have a quick recap of what you need for an awesome storyboard. 1, show what you can in terms of the mise-en-scene. If you're able to draw it, then do. That's fantastic. If you can't, just draw the most essential placement of things with a description on the side. The camera work, so this includes special instructions such as the focus, the composition, the way the camera moves. Show that however you need to, whether it's literally drawing the starting and finishing point of the frame. You could do the same thing for a zoom in, so you could show it as zoomed out and then zoomed in. Or again, just describe what the camera does and have it split over several different frames. Editing, make it absolutely clear how you get from shot 1 to 2 to 3 to 4 to 5. And even though you're probably going to get sick of writing cut 2, cut 2, cut 2, which it is in most cases, you need to make that clear to the audience. The other thing I didn't mention in terms of editing is shot duration. How long does it take to get from here to here? 5 seconds, 6 seconds, and so on. And finally, sound. Make sure that as we're watching it, we know that there's a certain sound effect or a piece of music that happens as the character turns around. That makes everything feel so much more watchable, for want of a better word. But what I've done with both of these videos, guys, is I've tried to show you don't need to be an artist. And there isn't a single way of doing things. Do what makes sense to you. Do what communicates your ideas the best. As always, thank you very much for watching. If you're looking for something else to watch, I'd highly recommend moving on to my tips for making a music video, if that's what you're storyboarding. Or if you're just getting into media studies, you can watch my A to Z guide right here.
The key to truly losing weight lies in this one little secret: major transformation.
We don't care about losing weight. Okay. All right, so that kind of gives a really good overview of how to do a storyboard. And like you said, it definitely was not an artiste, but I definitely think that it got across the idea there. And if we were all together, I would say let's make a storyboard now. And let's see here. I'm trying to. Adjust this, but okay. Can't figure it out. Anyway, trying to stop sharing. There we go. That's the button I'm looking for. Haha. Okay. But yeah, so that's kind of. So tell me, what do you all think about that? What did you think? Do you think that looked really complicated? Do you think it's something that you can do? What do you think?
Yeah, I like the artistic to do it, and you can just like do notes or scribble or whatever.
Yeah, that's where I'd be.
I love the concept of storyboarding, and I feel like I would do it, except I am a perfectionist, so I'd be spending like an hour per little slide trying to make everything look nice.
Yeah.
But other than that, I think it'd be something cool to do.
Now I heard you, Emma, that you had made some videos for a contest, right? So what do you think?
Yes,
Do you
I
think this
did.
would help you in that video creation?
Yeah, definitely. Usually I just go in and try my best, but I do find that like certain movements or certain lighting will help you like kind of explain your idea better, or like making sure your hair looks nice. Like even things like that is an important thing, is to try to make yourself look presentable.
Yeah. Anybody else? What do you think? Did you learn something new, something surprising that you hadn't thought of before? Eli says pretty cool. Good, good.
I liked how they kind of represented the lighting with the little lamp. I didn't think of that. I probably would just try to put shadows.
Yeah, me too. That's very interesting. I like that idea. Or I was thinking maybe even drawing a little light bulb, you know, in different places. Like, okay, this is where a light would be. Anything else that kind of stuck out to you that was like, oh,
I feel like it's really easy and anybody can do it.
good, good. I'm glad that came across, because I think that's absolutely the point, you know, just to say, okay, anybody can do this. But, you know, and two, I think it really helps. I know a lot of times we've tried to film videos in the past at work, really boring videos. And I hadn't done this sort of storyboarding and just sent somebody out. Well, I'll take, for example, you all know about these, is the medication disposal boxes, right, at the police stations. So we try to film how to dispose of your medication. It should be pretty simple. But Adam, who used to work for us last year, he went out and filmed it, and his filming was terrible. It was all over the place and kind of jumping around and wasn't really in. And so when we got it back to the office to try to edit and put it together, it really wasn't what we needed, right? So we had to do it again. We had to go film more. So if we had sat down and planned this kind of storyboarding, we would have realized what shots we needed to get, not just filming all this kind of crazy stuff, right? Live and learn, right? Make mistakes, figure it out. But that's just one, you know, little example that I could think of that we've tried to do. But yeah, so those kind of things. I know the point I was trying to make was that you can use the storyboard also to try to figure out like what things will work and maybe what things won't work if you're trying to film a kind of a complicated video. Maybe you're trying to tell a story about something in particular. One group I worked with, where they were going to try to film in a bathroom turning down a vape, like you'd be at school, someone offers you a vape and they're trying to show you how to turn it down, right? And so without storyboarding stuff and just trying to go in and film it, it was very complicated. Nobody kind of knew what to do, didn't know where to stand, didn't know where to film. They were just kind of making it up as they went, and some of it didn't really work very good. And so it was, you know, some of that kind of wasted a lot of time, right? And so this also helps in that pre-planning and saying, maybe this is not going to work the way we wanted it to, right? So yeah. So all right. Well, I think if we were together, I'd say let's make a storyboard or whatever. But if you all have, you know, a video that you're thinking about making, or wanting to tell a story in some kind of vlog or even a TikTok, you know, you want to make it short, to the point, you know, I encourage you to, you know, make up a storyboard. And if you want to bring it back next time we meet, I'd love to see it. I'd love to see what you come up with, even if you don't end up filming anything, but you're just wanting to practice and see how it works, and then we could kind of talk about it and just show a good example. Yeah.
This is great. Thank you so much. But like this was a perfect time because several of us are actually going to be making videos on mental health.
Oh,
So
great.
we'll be
Okay.
working on that.
Great. Well, I would love to see that. Yeah.
That's great. Like, I think I'm going to be doing poetry and drawing. So I'm definitely going to do a huge time lapse so that I'm not like just showing people drawing the whole time, but I'm going to have to think of some other stuff as well to keep people interested.
Yeah. Great. Well, if you guys, as you're working on this video, want to make a storyboard and bring it back to the group to kind of get feedback if you want, or just show us what you've got. I'd love to see that and to help, and I think that's great. And then Eli says we're going to do podcast.
Eli, I believe we're going to discuss the podcast at a later date. I don't think we're breaking out into breakout rooms today, but we'll definitely get back on that. Most of your group is not here today, I don't think. Who here is part of the podcast group? I think that was Grace's, right? Is that what Grace was working on? Yeah, we'll just wait till, okay, Scott. Okay, but yeah, we'll just wait until your whole group is here and then you can discuss it. But if you want to meet more to kind of get that podcast on a roll, then go for it.
All right. Well, I think that's all I had. So thank you guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You.